Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense attorney. And today we are reacting to Pooh Shiesty's plea. Now, if you remember a while back, we did a wrapper update, and one of the things we said is there was an entry in the federal system for a change of plea date. And when you do a change of plea, that means you're going to plead guilty. So you change your plea from not guilty to guilty. And one of the things that happened in this case is that the victim in the case was charged in Florida with some kind of scam, some kind of theft by false representation, or some kind of misrepresentation case. That made that witness less credible, so they struck a deal. Now, when you have a case in federal court, usually if there's going to be some kind of agreement between the prosecution and the defense, there's a plea. And they enter into an agreement, and that agreement gets filed with the court, and we just happen to have a copy of it right here. So we're going to go through the plea process a little bit, go through what his agreement is, and kind of talk to you a little bit more about what he's facing, okay? So, first of all, it's an agreement between the United States of America and Lontrell Williams, Jr., and that is Pooh Shiesty. So they're not going to call him Mr. Shiesty, as I did in my prior video. And here's the other thing. Here's the key thing. It binds only the parties. It doesn't bind the court. So the defendant agrees to plead guilty to count one of the superseding indictment, which charges the defendant with conspiracy to possess firearms in furtherance of a violent and drug trafficking crimes in violation of Title 18 U.S. Code 924. Now, remember I was talking about 924C. This is 924O. That's the firearms statute. And remember what he said? Bitch, I got my fire. I don't need no security in the club. Well, this is why you would rather have security than having your own fire. The United States agrees to dismiss the remaining counts as to this defendant after sentencing. So here's the thing. You plead, and then there's a time between plea and sentencing, and during that time there is a pre-sentence investigation that probation does. And so they meet with you, they talk about the offense, they talk about your family, your education, your criminal background, and your ability to pay a fine, that kind of stuff. And if you do anything inconsistent with acceptance of responsibility, because that's a big part of this, in between plea and sentencing, it could violate the terms of your plea agreement, in which case you can't withdraw, and then the prosecutor is no longer bound by the limit set within the plea agreement. The defendant is aware that the court will impose the sentence after considering the advisory federal sentencing guidelines and the policy statements. The defendant acknowledges and understands that the court will compute an advisory sentence under the sentencing guidelines and that the applicable guidelines, blah, blah, blah. So, in other words, the court's going to make its own determination as to what the guidelines, but this is what the parties believe the agreement is and what the factors are. The defendant also understands and acknowledges that as to count one, the court may impose a statutory maximum term of imprisonment up to 20 years. Not likely to happen, but he's acknowledging that the court is not bound by the agreement and could go up to 20 years. Further understands, in addition to the sentence imposed under this agreement, a special assessment of $100, a fine of up to $250,000. And this office reserves the right to inform the court and the probation of all facts pertinent to the sentencing process. So if there's any other uncharged conduct that the court should take into consideration, the prosecution will do that. Now, here's the substance of the agreement. The parties agree to recommend, although not binding on the court, a sentence not to exceed 97 months. So let's talk about what 97 months in federal prison means. 97 times 0.85, because you get 15% off, basically. So that's 82 months, less any time that he's already done. So let's say he's been in there for 6 months. That's just a rough guess. So that's 76 months. And then at about and taking about another 6 months off for halfway house. So that's 76, that's 70. And then you take another 12 months off if he does the RDAP program. So that means, which is the Drug and Rehabilitation Program. So that means he could get out in literally about 58 months, just short of 5 years, even though it's 97 months. The office, this office, meaning the United States Attorney's Office, agrees that it will recommend at sentencing that the court reduce by 2 levels the sentencing level applicable to the defense offense level, Section 3E 1.1a of the sentencing guidelines, based upon the defendant's recognition and affirmative and timely acceptance of responsibility. If at the time of sentencing the defendant's offense level is determined to be 16 or greater, this office will file a motion requesting additional 1 level decrease. So basically what they're saying is, okay, you plead guilty. Because you're pleading guilty in a timely fashion, we'll recommend a 2-level reduction for acceptance of responsibility. If your offense severity level is over 16, you get another point. So in other words, by pleading guilty and not doing anything in contradiction to acceptance of responsibility, you get a 3-point reduction. So he is doing 97 months for conspiracy to possess a firearm during a violent crime. Now, the one thing that the plea agreement does not include in this particular case is it does not include a factual basis section. And I'll get into that in a second. But the defendant agrees to forfeit hit the firearm and all property constituting of proceeds from the crime, which I don't think there are any. And he further agrees to forfeit all firearms or ammunition involved or used in the offense. And here's the other thing. The defendant also agrees to fully cooperate with the United States in all proceedings, whether administrative or judicial, involving forfeiture. So you lose your right to have all this stuff that was used in the crime. All right. So the one thing, whenever you enter a plea, there's basically 2 parts to it. There's a waiver of your rights. First, you have to waive your right to remain silent. You have to waive your right to a trial, to cross-examine witnesses, to present witnesses on your own behalf, and to challenge any of the evidence. So that's the first part. So the first thing the judge did is he went through all of his rights, and then they go through what's called a factual basis. And that is, they talk about what happened on that particular day. Now, if you remember, and here's a photograph of it, he was supposed to go, he had $40,000 cash on him, and they went to go buy some shoes, maybe some weed, or I think it was a bad drug deal gone awry. And then there was firing back and forth, and the one guy got shot in the ass. So that's one of the things that the judge will do, or usually the prosecutor will do that. The prosecutor will say, so he says, Mr. Williams, I'd like to go through what happened on June 12th, or whatever date it was. Do you remember that day? Yes. And on that particular day, you had possessed a firearm, correct? Yes. And you did so with an agreement with another party, right? And in act and furtherance of that crime, you went to a particular location and, whatever happened. So they have to lay out exactly what the elements are. And so then what happens is the judge will take the plea under advisement and accept the plea. And then they set up a time for you to meet with probation to create the pre-sentence report. Now, this is a case where there's no range that is being recommended by parties. So they're not arguing about a particular sentence. They're just both recommending to the judge, we think he should get 97 months. Now, remember what I said, the judge is not bound by this. Because if you look at the back page, judge's signature is not on this. See that? Judge's signature. So the judge is not a party to this agreement. It is just the parties. So the prosecutor is not allowed to ask for anything more than what's in this agreement. So the prosecutor, and same with the defense. And then you also waive your right to any kind of appeal on the issue, on the sentence, unless it's the judge gives them a sentence greater than 97 months, and the government waives their right to appeal as long as the sentence is below, unless the sentence is below 97 months. So nobody can deviate from that. So, and then he'll go to prison, and I don't know that he'll be able to make music when he's in prison. Probably not. But this is the result of making a choice on a particular day and getting burned by it. So when I tell you guys to think before you leap, think about, what am I doing right now? I'm with 3 other guys. This guy's got a gun. These guys have drugs, and I'm right next to them. Should I be in this situation? No, you shouldn't. Make good choices. Build your life. Build. I can't tell you how important that is. The thing is, you start out with a little bit of schooling, and all of a sudden you get that done. I couldn't believe it when I graduated from college, because I didn't think I was gonna, because my grades were kind of crappy and I wasn't super motivated. But all of a sudden I got my degree, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to law school. And guess what? And I got good grades in law school because I liked it. And then all of a sudden, now I'm a lawyer. And then I start building. And then I got a wife and a family. And all of a sudden, holy crap, look what I built. And you look back, you don't make those kind of shitty decisions when you have something to protect, right? So I wish Mr. Williams, Mr. Shiesty, all the best. I wish him a speedy prison stint. And let's hope he gets out and makes some more music, because and let's hope it's fucking good shit, because he's talented, and he's going to be able to do some pretty good work. So this has just been an update on the plea for Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams, and if you're watching this, make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and sign up for Patreon. It'll do you some good.